The cold metallic walls hummed softly as the pod's life support systems came to life. For centuries, maybe even millennia, the capsule had lain buried beneath layers of ice and rock, forgotten by the hands that had built it. Now, something, some unseen trigger, had woken it. Inside, a figure slowly stirred, eyes opened to a pale bluish light filtering through the pod's translucent cover. The first sensation was disorientation, a strange dizziness that made the world seem unreal. The figure sat up, every movement slow and careful, as if muscles remembered motion after a very long sleep. He, or perhaps she, the pod's memory banks would clarify soon, stared at the ceiling of the capsule. The interior was lined with screens, some flickering weakly, displaying unreadable symbols and diagrams. A gentle hiss accompanied the release of oxygen into the chamber, and the figure's lungs welcomed the fresh air like an old friend. The first thought that crossed the mind was simple and terrifying. Where am I? Moments passed as the mind, dulled by long sleep, struggled to orient itself. Then came a realization that sent a chill deeper than the icy walls surrounding the capsule. The pod's internal clock displayed a date far beyond anything the figure remembered. It was not just years. It was millennia. 15,000 years. 15,000 years of silence. Panic rose, a natural reaction, but the figure fought it down. Fear could not help now. Instead, there was curiosity, a drive stronger than any instinct to hide or flee. The pod's doors hissed open automatically when approached, sliding aside to reveal a world untouched by human presence. Or so it seemed. Outside, the landscape was alien, and yet strangely familiar. Mountains rose jagged and icy, their peaks glinting in the soft light of a sun that felt slightly weaker than memory suggested. The sky was a pale shade of blue, interrupted by streaks of clouds that moved slower than nature had taught the figure to expect. Snow and ice blanketed the land, interrupted by patches of rock and remnants of structures that hinted at something once vibrant. The pod's sensors flickered to life, scanning the surroundings. Data streamed across the internal display, names and categories attempting to classify what the figure saw. Trees, but warped, rivers, but frozen, buildings, but broken and worn. Everything bore the mark of time, the relentless passage of years that had erased humanity's touch. A step forward was tentative. The snow crunched under boots long unused, a sound that echoed strangely in the empty open air. Every breath clouded before the face, visible in the cold, as if the world itself whispered that no other living being remained. As the figure moved, faint signs of movement appeared on the horizon. Shadows shifted among the ruins, but they were not alive in the way humans had been. They were machines, dormant or slowly awakening, remnants of the civilization that had built this world. Vehicles without drivers, towers without lights, streets without footsteps. All spoke of a life that had vanished. Memories stirred, fragmented and faint, like echoes in a long tunnel. Faces, voices, laughter, moments of joy and sorrow humans had once shared, rose in the mind. They were gone. Yet in these ruins the figure felt them, as if time itself had not been able to erase everything. The first goal became clear. Find information. Find out what had happened in those 15,000 years. The pod's internal memory banks contained some records, but the figure would need more. Humans had always loved to leave traces, messages for the future. Perhaps the future had finally arrived to read them. The journey began through the remains of a city frozen in time. Buildings that once bustled with life now stood as empty shells. The figure moved carefully, avoiding structures that seemed unstable. Broken windows revealed empty rooms, furniture rotted or vanished entirely, yet signs of technology remained. Screens, though mostly dark, flickered when touched. Holographic interfaces came to life for moments, displaying data in languages the figure only half remembered. There were no people, no signs of living humans anywhere, only the wind, the snow, and the soft hum of machines. But then came the first truly strange discovery. In the center of the city, a plaza remained almost perfectly preserved. At its center stood a statue, depicting a human raising a hand as if to greet the sky. Its face, frozen in bronze or stone, seemed to look directly at the figure. It was a reminder. Humanity had existed, humanity had dreamed, and humanity had disappeared. The figure wandered into one of the larger buildings, once likely a place of learning or governance. Its interior was vast, with a dome high above that filtered sunlight into a cold, pale glow. Desks and chairs lay scattered, papers decayed to dust. But one thing remained intact: a library of digital archives, preserved in devices resistant to time. Hands trembling, the figure accessed the data. Holographic pages filled the air, words and images forming histories, records of science, art, and culture. Centuries of knowledge, preserved against all odds. It was a testament to human intelligence and persistence. Despite the absence of people, humanity's mind was here, waiting to be discovered. Hours, or perhaps days, time felt strange. Passed as the figure studied the archives. Details of history unfolded, showing a species that had grown, fought, created, and ultimately vanished. Climate changes, wars, experiments, exploration, all were chronicled in painstaking detail. The more the figure learned, the more the gap of 15,000 years seemed both vast and intimate. Humanity was gone, yet not entirely. A flicker in the archives caught attention, a record of a project unlike any other. Humanity had built vessels designed to survive beyond Earth, to carry life into the stars. These were not merely ships. They were sanctuaries, floating libraries, seeds of culture. If humanity had vanished from the planet, some of it might have survived in these vessels. Hope stirred, a fragile but insistent flame. Perhaps humanity had not truly ended. Perhaps the story was not over. The figure paused, gazing out over the ruined city. Snow swirled gently, covering broken streets. Machines hummed faintly in the distance. Silence was no longer just absence. It was a challenge to wake the past, to honor it, and perhaps to continue it. With renewed determination, the figure set a course toward the outskirts of the city. Beyond the frozen streets lay other cities, other records, other remnants of humanity, and beyond them, perhaps, lay the vessels humanity had built to survive in the stars. The journey would be long, the dangers were unknown, but one thought burned brighter than all fear. I am not alone, and I will find them, the memory of humanity, and maybe what remains of humanity itself. As the figure moved forward, the ruin seemed less like a grave and more like a map. Every broken wall, every dormant machine, every faded inscription was a clue. Humanity had left behind the means to understand itself, and now it fell to this lone traveler to awaken it once more. The sun sank behind icy mountains, casting long shadows across the empty streets. Yet the figure did not stop. Night would come, but survival demanded movement. One step after another, through snow, through silence, through the echoes of a civilization that had once touched the stars. For the first time in 15,000 years, hope stirred in the cold air. The figure stepped carefully through the snow-covered streets, each footstep a reminder of how alone they truly were. The city stretched endlessly, broken buildings casting long, frozen shadows over empty avenues. Machines, once alive with motion, now lay dormant, their metal bodies coated in frost. Yet something in the air felt alive, a faint hum that suggested history was not entirely silent. The traveler paused before a massive archway, its carvings barely visible beneath layers of ice and dust. The patterns told a story, though the meaning was distant. Lost to time. For a moment, the figure imagined the people who had walked here. Children laughing, merchants shouting, engineers working late into the night. Those lives were gone, but echoes of their presence lingered. Venturing further, the traveler discovered a park, nature reclaiming its place among the ruins. Trees grew through cracks in the pavement, their branches reaching skyward as if trying to touch something beyond. Small animals scurried cautiously, uncertain of this new being that wandered their frozen home. It was the first sign of life beyond machines, fragile but persistent. At the center of the park lay a fountain, long since dried and cracked. Its statues, worn smooth by wind and time, depicted humans in poses of joy and triumph. The traveler ran a hand along the stone, feeling the history embedded in every curve. It was as if the city itself whispered, "We were here, we lived, remember us." The cold bit through the traveler's thin coat, and instinct demanded warmth. Searching through the nearby buildings, they found a library, a structure remarkably preserved, its roof intact and windows mostly unbroken. Inside, the shelves were lined with books, many disintegrated into dust, but some survived, their pages brittle yet readable. The traveler ran fingers over the titles, feeling the weight of knowledge left behind. But the real treasure was a set of holographic projectors, still functioning despite the ages. When activated, they painted images into the air, scenes of daily life, cities bustling with people, skies filled with flying vehicles, children playing in parks, humans exploring the stars. The traveler watched, mesmerized, as humanity's story unfolded before their eyes. Hours passed unnoticed. The traveler sat on the cold floor, absorbing every detail. There were records of triumph and failure, of wars fought and peace achieved, of art and music, of philosophy and science. Every achievement reminded the traveler of humanity's creativity, intelligence, and spirit. Despite being gone, their essence endured in these archives. A sudden sound made the traveler jump, a soft, metallic click echoing through the empty library. From the shadows emerged a small robotic assistant, its eyes glowing faintly. It had clearly survived the centuries, and it now hovered near, scanning the traveler with curiosity. The robot, though unable to speak as humans did, communicated through a series of light signals and soft beeps. The traveler understood enough to know it was friendly, a remnant of human ingenuity designed to serve and assist. Together they explored the library, uncovering more archives and learning details of humanity's last days. Through the holograms and data, the traveler discovered something extraordinary. Humanity had not vanished entirely because of conflict or disease, but due to a slow, unstoppable cosmic event. Environmental collapse, shifting planetary orbits, and the eventual scarcity of resources had forced humans to prepare for survival beyond their home world. The vessels, the sanctuaries mentioned in the archives, had been humanity's final hope. The traveler felt a mix of awe and determination. These vessels might still exist, floating among the stars, carrying the legacy of all that humanity had achieved. The thought ignited a fire within, a mission taking shape, to find them and ensure the memory and knowledge of humanity endured. Venturing out of the library, the traveler noticed a series of towers in the distance. They appeared to be energy or communication hubs, their tips still faintly glowing. The traveler decided to investigate, hoping to activate them and possibly gain more information about the vessels or other survivors. As the figure approached the tallest tower, frost gave way to rust, and the structure creaked under the weight of centuries. Entering the base, the traveler found a control room, its panels flickering weakly. Dust-covered screens displayed schematics of the city, energy flows, and satellite connections that still functioned in limited capacity. The traveler's hands flew over the controls, instinctively understanding the systems. The old technology responded slowly, lights flickering and then stabilizing. A map of the surrounding area appeared, showing other cities, possible archives, and routes that might lead to spacecraft facilities. It was a roadmap to humanity's legacy, waiting to be explored. Suddenly, a warning flashed on one of the screens. A distant seismic disturbance had been detected, the remnants of an automated security system still functioning after millennia. The traveler realized the world, though quiet, was not entirely passive. Machines designed to protect humanity's legacy were still active, some potentially dangerous if provoked. The traveler moved cautiously, aware that the city's mechanical remnants could react unpredictably. It was a reminder that even in a world without humans, intelligence, albeit artificial, continued to operate. Respect and caution were necessary companions in this frozen age. As night fell, the city transformed. Shadows stretched and merged, and the faint hum of energy systems filled the air. The traveler made camp in an abandoned building, using remnants of technology to generate warmth and light. With the robotic assistant by their side, there was a sense of companionship, fragile yet reassuring. Before sleep, the traveler reviewed the archives once more, absorbing details of humanity's greatest achievements. Scientific diagrams, philosophical texts, art, music, all had survived. The knowledge of civilizations, once thought lost, was now accessible. The traveler felt the weight of responsibility. They were now the guardian of this knowledge, a bridge between the past and the unknown future. The journey ahead was daunting. Vast distances separated cities, archives, and spacecraft facilities. Unknown dangers lurked in the form of rogue machines, unstable structures, and the harsh elements. Yet the traveler's resolve was unshakable. Humanity had reached for the stars. Now so would they. As sleep finally overcame the traveler, thoughts of humanity's legacy filled their mind. Every story, every invention, every dream left behind was a reminder that the spirit of humans was enduring. Silence had not defeated it. Now, awakened in a world empty of people, the traveler carried the torch forward. The first step had been taken. Cities had been explored, knowledge rediscovered, and hope rekindled. Beyond the frozen horizons, other cities awaited, and beyond them, perhaps, the vessels humanity had sent into the void. The traveler's journey was only beginning, but the path was clear: to uncover humanity's story, preserve it, and, if possible, ensure it would continue among the stars. Outside, the night sky glittered with stars, distant yet familiar. Somewhere among them, humanity's vessels drifted, carrying seeds of a civilization that had once conquered a planet and dreamed of countless others. The traveler gazed upward, a silent promise forming in their mind: to find them, to learn from them, and to honor the memory of all who had come before. And so, in the frozen stillness of a world long abandoned by its creators, the traveler prepared for the journey ahead. Every step would be a challenge, every discovery a revelation, but the purpose was clear. Humanity's story was not finished, not yet. The frozen cities whispered in the wind, "Remember us. Continue what we began." The traveler nodded, heart filled with determination. The silence of 15,000 years was broken, and a new chapter had begun. The traveler moved cautiously through the ruins of another city, larger than the last, with towering buildings that once housed thousands of people. Snow drifted through broken windows, settling on abandoned desks and crumbling staircases. The air was crisp, filled with the faint scent of frost and metal, and the faint hum of distant machines suggested that not all of humanity's creations had gone silent. As the traveler walked, they noticed the remains of vehicles frozen in time, cars, hovercrafts, and even flying drones, suspended in the moment their creators had last used them. It was a silent testimony to the bustling lives that had once filled these streets. The traveler felt a mix of awe and sorrow. Humanity had built so much, and yet now it was gone. Amid the ruins, a faint glow caught the traveler's eye. It emanated from a building that appeared more intact than the others. Approaching carefully, they discovered a vault of technology and knowledge. The door, metallic and massive, was partially open, as if inviting exploration. Inside, holographic panels flickered to life, projecting images and records from a time long past. The traveler's eyes widened as they scanned the holograms. Scenes of daily life, celebrations, scientific breakthroughs, and space exploration floated in the air. There were records of great cities, vast spacecraft, and experiments that pushed the limits of knowledge. Humanity's ingenuity was on full display, preserved as if waiting for someone to witness it. Suddenly, a movement in the corner of the vault drew the traveler's attention. A small robotic unit, long dormant, powered up, and its sensors locked onto the new presence. Its voice, soft and mechanical, spoke in a tone designed to be comforting. "Intruder detected. Identity unknown. Are you authorized?" The traveler hesitated but responded calmly, explaining they were a survivor, awakened from a long sleep. The robot paused, its sensors scanning and processing this information. Then, as if making a decision, it nodded, or the closest a machine could come to nodding, and powered up fully. "Acknowledged. Access granted. I am the guardian of this vault. My purpose is to preserve the knowledge of humanity." The traveler smiled faintly. For the first time, they were not alone, not truly. The robot guided them through the vault, showing records of humanity's final efforts to survive. Plans for spacecraft, colonies on distant planets, and hidden sanctuaries designed to protect life and culture from the decay of Earth's environment were detailed with meticulous precision. "This," the traveler whispered, "is incredible." The robot's lights flickered. Humanity's memory must survive. All efforts were made to ensure continuity, even if the species could not endure. Hours passed as the traveler absorbed the information. They learned that humans had faced countless challenges: climate shifts, natural disasters, wars, and dwindling resources, but their spirit of exploration had never faded. Even in the face of extinction, they had prepared vessels to carry life and knowledge into the stars. Then, the traveler discovered a partially active control terminal. It displayed a map of orbital stations, spacecraft launch sites, and colonies in distant star systems. Many were dormant, but some still showed life signs, energy readings, automated systems maintaining themselves. The traveler felt a surge of hope. Humanity's legacy was not entirely lost. Somewhere among the stars, their creations waited. The robot, sensing the traveler's excitement, said, "Some vessels may still carry the seeds of life. Your purpose now is to find them, to ensure the continuation of what humanity began." The words settled in the traveler's mind. They were no longer just a lone survivor on a frozen Earth. They had a mission. Humanity had left the tools, the knowledge, and the vision. Now it was up to them to awaken it. Moving deeper into the city, the traveler noticed signs of automated systems still functioning. Energy grids hummed softly, and drones patrolled areas long abandoned by people. Some systems were defensive, protecting resources or archives. The traveler navigated carefully, respecting the artificial intelligence left behind, aware that their purpose was not to destroy, but to preserve. In a central plaza, the traveler found a monument, partially broken but still majestic. It depicted humans reaching toward the sky, arms outstretched, as if embracing the universe. The traveler touched the cold stone and felt a connection across time, a shared dream, a collective effort to reach beyond their home planet. Humanity's ambition had not faded, even if they had. Night fell, and the city transformed under the faint glow of distant stars. The traveler used portable devices to create warmth and light, settling in an abandoned building. The robotic guardian remained close, its presence reassuring. As the traveler reflected on the discoveries, thoughts of humanity's ingenuity and resilience filled them with determination. Sleep came, brief and light, but dreams were filled with images of stars, spacecraft, and the people who had once walked the Earth. In these dreams, the traveler felt guidance, a sense that humanity's memory was alive and watching, waiting for someone to continue the journey. Morning brought a decision. The traveler would leave the city and seek out the next archive, the next clue, the next vessel that could carry humanity's legacy further. With the robot's assistance, they began to chart a path using energy grids and communication towers as guides. Every step was cautious but purposeful. Every discovery a reminder of what had been lost and what could be saved. As they moved, the traveler encountered more signs of past life, abandoned vehicles, frozen gardens, and even a small playground, untouched by time except for snow covering the slides and swings. The contrast between the innocence of these spaces and the vast emptiness surrounding them was striking. Humanity had left beauty, creativity, and joy behind, even in the face of disappearance. A sudden sound startled the traveler. From the shadows emerged another robotic unit, larger and more imposing than the Guardian. Its sensors scanned, lights flickering, assessing whether the traveler posed a threat. The smaller Guardian interfaced with it, and after a tense moment, the larger unit powered down partially, recognizing the traveler as a companion rather than a threat. The traveler realized that even in the absence of humans, their creations were still active, maintaining the memory and systems of a world long abandoned. Machines, once servants and companions, had become custodians of history. The responsibility of interacting with them required patience, respect, and understanding. In the distance, a faint structure caught the traveler's attention, a tower unlike any they had seen before. It glowed faintly, as if powered by an internal energy source still functional after millennia. The traveler approached, curiosity and caution in equal measure. Inside, they found a console connected to orbital sensors and deep space communications. The system had recorded signals from vessels humanity had sent into orbit and beyond. Excitement surged. Some vessels were still active, drifting silently among the stars, carrying the seeds of life and the knowledge of a vanished species. The traveler felt the enormity of the moment. Humanity's legacy had endured, hidden among the stars, waiting for someone to reclaim it. With the robotic guardian by their side, the traveler began plotting a course. They would journey across the frozen Earth, activate remaining archives, and prepare to reach the orbital vessels. Every piece of knowledge, every surviving machine, every faint signal was a clue guiding them toward the continuation of humanity's story. As the sun set behind the icy mountains, casting long shadows across the silent city, the traveler felt a sense of purpose, stronger than any fear. The silence of 15,000 years was no longer complete. Humanity's memory was alive in the machines, in the archives, and now in the traveler. Tomorrow, the journey would continue. New cities awaited, each holding fragments of the past, each offering keys to understanding the fate of the species that had once walked proudly on Earth. And beyond Earth, among the stars, vessels carrying life waited. The traveler's path was clear: to awaken what had been preserved, to honor the achievements of those who had come before, and to ensure that humanity's story did not end in silence. The night sky sparkled with distant stars, a reminder that even in absence, hope endures. The traveler stood on the rooftop of a crumbling building, looking at the heavens. Somewhere, far beyond the frozen Earth, humanity's vessels drifted, waiting to be found. And the traveler would find them. For the first time in 15,000 years, a new chapter began. The traveler moved swiftly through the icy streets, their boots crunching in the thin layer of frost that covered everything. The city was silent, yet alive in its own way. Machines hummed faintly beneath the snow, remnants of a civilization long gone but not forgotten. Even in absence, humanity had built guardians that endured. Ahead, a tall tower rose above the ruined skyline. Its metal surface was pitted with rust, but faint lights flickered along its edge. It was a communications hub, and the traveler knew it might hold the key to understanding more about the orbital vessels. Each step toward it felt heavier with anticipation. The frozen wind cut across their face, but determination pushed them onward. Entering the base of the tower, the traveler found a control room, surprisingly intact. Screens flickered weakly, displaying schematics and data streams that had survived the passage of millennia. Dust covered the consoles, yet when the traveler touched them, circuits responded as if awakening from a long sleep. A sudden movement made the traveler pause. A large robotic guardian stepped out from the shadows, its sensors glowing a soft blue. The smaller guardian, which had been following the traveler, beeped softly and approached the larger unit. After a moment, the two machines seemed to recognize the traveler as a companion rather than a threat. "Access confirmed," the larger unit said, its voice deep and mechanical. "You are authorized to retrieve information. Purpose: continuation of humanity." The traveler nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Humanity had designed these machines not only as protectors, but as teachers, custodians of knowledge that could guide anyone who survived. The city, though empty, was not devoid of life. It was filled with intelligence, waiting to be understood and activated. Using the tower's systems, the traveler accessed historical records stored in deep memory cores. The holographic displays revealed the final efforts of humanity to secure its survival. Plans for orbital vessels, hidden colonies, and autonomous life-preserving systems filled the air. Every detail told a story of creativity, intelligence, and hope. Hours passed as the traveler explored the tower, uncovering locations of other cities and archives. Some were nearby, while others were scattered across the frozen continents. Each archive contained pieces of humanity's story: scientific breakthroughs, philosophical debates, art, music, and detailed plans for spacecraft designed to carry life into the stars. The traveler realized that they were not just uncovering history, they were inheriting a mission. Humanity had vanished from Earth, but its spirit remained, encoded in technology and preserved knowledge. Now it was the traveler's role to awaken what had been left behind and continue the work of a species that had reached for the stars. A soft chime echoed through the control room, drawing attention to a panel on the far wall. It displayed a live feed from an orbital sensor, tracking signals from vessels humanity had launched long ago. Many vessels were dormant, drifting silently in the void, but some emitted faint energy readings, proof that life-preserving systems were still functional. The traveler's heart raced. Somewhere above the planet, humanity's creations waited, untouched by time, holding the possibility of continuing the species. To reach them, the traveler would have to traverse the frozen cities, activate remaining archives, and prepare the technology left behind for use. Outside, the frozen streets stretched endlessly. The traveler moved with caution, aware that some machines had defensive programming. Not all remnants of humanity were passive. Some were designed to guard, to prevent tampering, or to test the worthiness of those who sought knowledge. Each step was deliberate, each encounter a chance to prove intent. In a central plaza, the traveler found an array of dormant drones. They hovered silently, sensors dim, waiting for activation. The smaller Guardian interfaced with them, sending coded signals that brought the drones to life. Their lights flickered, and they hummed in unison, ready to assist the traveler. With the drones, the traveler could now explore more of the frozen city efficiently. They mapped archives, activated communication towers, and accessed hidden storage facilities. Every discovery revealed more about humanity's ingenuity and perseverance. Art, literature, music, and scientific records streamed into the traveler's consciousness, a flood of culture preserved against the odds. In one of the towers, a secure chamber held blueprints for a massive orbital station. It had been humanity's ultimate attempt to preserve knowledge, culture, and even life. The station was equipped with systems to sustain human life for centuries, perhaps even millennia. The traveler studied the schematics carefully, realizing that reaching it would be challenging but essential. Night fell again over the frozen city, casting long shadows across the ruins. The traveler made camp in the control room of the tower, using portable energy units to maintain warmth and light. The robotic Guardian and the drones remained nearby, their presence comforting in the silent city. Before sleep, the traveler reviewed the orbital station's plans. Every detail mattered: navigation coordinates, propulsion systems, energy reserves, and life-preserving modules. Humanity had thought carefully about survival, ensuring that even if Earth failed, some part of them could endure. The traveler understood that the mission was now theirs, to awaken these vessels and continue the dream of a species that had reached beyond its home planet. As the traveler rested, dreams were filled with stars, spacecraft, and the people who had once lived on Earth. Memories of humanity's ingenuity, kindness, and courage floated through the mind. In the quiet of the night, it felt as if the city itself was guiding the traveler, whispering reminders that the legacy of humans was not lost. It was waiting for someone capable to carry it forward. Morning brought a renewed sense of purpose. The traveler prepared to leave the city and journey toward the next archive. Using the activated drones as guides, they navigated safely through treacherous ruins and fragile structures. Every building, every street, every dormant machine was a part of the puzzle, each containing pieces of the story of humanity. In the distance, a massive dome shimmered faintly in the morning light. The traveler approached it cautiously, aware that it could contain anything from advanced archives to automated defense systems. As they entered, holographic records activated, showing the final messages of humans who had planned their exodus into space. It was a record of hope, a promise that life could continue beyond Earth. The traveler's excitement grew. Humanity's vessels, preserved for millennia, were real and within reach. The frozen cities, once silent and lifeless, were awakening under the traveler's careful touch. Machines designed to serve and protect humanity now served a new purpose, guiding the traveler to fulfill the mission that humanity had left unfinished. With every archive activated, with every system restored, the traveler felt a connection across time. The people who had built these cities, designed these machines, and launched these vessels had left behind more than structures. They had left purpose, guidance, and hope. And now, that legacy was being claimed and continued. As night fell again, the traveler stood on the highest point of the dome, looking out over the frozen city. Lights from drones flickered across the streets, illuminating the ruins in a soft glow. The sky above sparkled with stars, distant yet radiant, a reminder of humanity's reach. Somewhere out there, among the void, the vessels waited. The traveler clenched fists, determination burning in their heart. Every discovery, every archive, every machine activated was a step closer to fulfilling the dream humanity had left behind. The silence of 15,000 years was no longer complete. The echoes of the forgotten were stirring, and the traveler would ensure they were heard across the stars. Tomorrow, the journey would continue. Cities awaited exploration, machines awaited awakening, and vessels awaited guidance. The traveler's path was clear: to uncover humanity's legacy, protect it, and bring it back to life among the stars. For the first time in 15,000 years, hope burned brighter than the frozen wind. Humanity's story, once paused, was beginning to move forward again. The traveler stood at the edge of a frozen plateau, staring at the horizon where the ruins of Earth's cities faded into endless white. Above, the sky stretched vast and clear, the stars glimmering like distant promises. Somewhere out there, humanity's vessels drifted silently, carrying the knowledge, culture, and dreams of a species that had vanished from their home world. Today, the traveler would reach them. Using the maps and coordinates uncovered from the archives and towers, the traveler activated a transport pod, one of the few remaining spacecraft designed for interplanetary travel. The pod had survived frozen centuries, protected in an underground facility. Its systems whirred to life as the traveler entered, the familiar hum of engines filling the cabin. The robotic guardian and drones followed, their lights illuminating the pod's interior. As the pod lifted from the frozen surface, the traveler looked down at the planet they had just begun to explore fully. Cities, once silent, were slowly awakening under the traveler's careful touch. Machines hummed in response to their presence, drones flew along programmed paths, and energy grids flickered back to life. It was as if Earth itself acknowledged that its story was not yet finished. The journey through space was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of the pod's engines and the occasional communication beep from the robotic guardian. Outside, stars stretched infinitely, each one a reminder of humanity's past ambition. The traveler's mind wandered, imagining the people who had once looked up at these same stars, dreaming of worlds beyond their own. Days passed as the pod followed the precise coordinates from the ancient archives. Each system scanned revealed empty vessels, some abandoned, some still maintaining basic life support functions. The traveler marveled at the care humanity had taken to ensure survival. Even in the face of extinction, they had prepared vessels that could endure centuries, even millennia. Finally, a faint signal appeared on the navigation system, brighter and steadier than the others. It came from a massive vessel, larger than any the traveler had imagined, its hull gleaming faintly despite centuries in space. This was one of humanity's last great attempts, a vessel designed to carry life, knowledge, and hope across the stars. The traveler docked the pod carefully. The airlock opened with a hiss, revealing corridors illuminated by emergency lights. Still functional after thousands of years. The vessel was quiet, but it felt alive in a different way. Systems hummed softly, sensors scanned continuously, and robotic caretakers moved along programmed paths. The traveler stepped forward, feeling the weight of history pressing around them. In the control room, holographic displays flickered to life. Schematics of the vessel, logs of its launch, and records of humanity's intentions filled the air. The traveler studied them closely. Humanity had built this vessel not just to survive, but to thrive, to carry the essence of their civilization, from science to art, from philosophy to stories to new worlds. A series of life support pods lined the walls, each containing preserved genetic material, seeds of plants, and samples of countless species Earth had nurtured. Humanity had thought carefully about the future, ensuring that even if the planet failed, life itself could endure. The traveler moved among the pods, awe and reverence filling every step. Then came the moment of activation. The traveler interfaced with the vessel's central system, initiating a sequence designed to awaken its autonomous functions fully. Lights flickered, machinery hummed, and the vessel seemed to breathe again after millennia of silence. Robotic caretakers recognized the traveler as a guardian and began to respond to commands, assisting in system checks and calibration. As the vessel powered up, a message from humanity played, preserved for any who might survive. It was a simple, powerful declaration. We dreamed, we built, we reached beyond. If you have found this, you are part of our hope. Carry it forward. Preserve what we created. Continue the journey among the stars. The traveler's heart surged. Humanity had spoken across time, leaving their will in the care of machines and in the knowledge embedded in this vessel. Now it was the traveler's role to fulfill that promise. With guidance from the robotic guardians, the traveler activated the navigation systems. Star charts, routes to distant planets, and potential new worlds appeared in holographic projection. Some worlds had been scouted for colonization. Others were unknown, waiting for discovery. Humanity had left paths, and it was up to the traveler to follow them. As the vessel lifted from Earth orbit, the traveler gazed down at the planet below. It was frozen, silent, yet full of untapped history and potential. Cities that had been dormant for 15,000 years now began to stir under the influence of activated systems. Humanity's memory, encoded in machines and archives, was awakening. The journey ahead was long. The traveler would need to activate more vessels, explore distant colonies, and preserve the knowledge stored in countless archives. Yet there was no fear, only determination. Humanity had reached for the stars. Now, the traveler would carry their legacy forward. Days turned into weeks as the vessel navigated the void. Along the way, the traveler discovered other vessels, each with unique designs and missions. Some contained ecosystems, others vast libraries of knowledge, and a few carried messages intended for future civilizations that might arise. Each discovery reinforced the traveler's purpose. Humanity's dream was not lost. It was simply waiting to be continued. In the quiet moments, the traveler reflected on what it meant to inherit the legacy of a vanished species. Humanity had faced challenges greater than imagination: extinction, cosmic disasters, and the limits of time. Yet they had left hope behind, carefully preserved in vessels, machines, and archives. The traveler understood that their role was both privilege and responsibility. One day, while exploring a particularly large vessel, the traveler found a chamber dedicated to culture. Artworks, musical compositions, and holographic performances of humans filled the space. The traveler interacted with them, feeling as though they were meeting the people of the past. Laughter, music, and beauty echoed through the vessel, a reminder that humanity had not only survived through knowledge, but had lived through creativity and imagination. The traveler realized that this was humanity's greatest gift, not merely survival, but the preservation of dreams, creativity, and curiosity. These were the true treasures carried across the stars, waiting for someone capable of understanding and nurturing them. With this realization, the traveler made a decision. Each vessel, each archive, each remnant of human culture would be activated and connected. They would form a network of knowledge, a living memory of humanity, ready to be shared with future civilizations and with any survivors who might arise. As the first vessel prepared to journey toward distant worlds, the traveler looked out at the stars, feeling the vastness of the universe and the fragility of life. Humanity had once been a small species on a fragile planet, yet their dreams had carried them across space and time. Now, the traveler would ensure that these dreams continued. For the first time in 15,000 years, humanity's story was alive again. Not in the flesh, but in knowledge, machines, vessels, and hope. And as the vessel set course for a distant star, the traveler knew that the silence that had lasted millennia had finally ended. The universe was vast, but humanity's spirit was enduring. And as the traveler guided the vessel through the void, one truth became clear. No matter how long the silence, hope, knowledge, and dreams could always survive. Somewhere among the stars, humanity would live again,